Welcome back, Longhorn fans, to a bye-week edition of Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports as we approach Week 5 in college football, the year of our Lord 2025, as we find our beloved Texas Longhorns at 3-1 post non-conference play, going into their first bye week, 2 weeks ahead of their first SEC game, which will take place Saturday, October 4th in Gainesville against the reeling Florida Gators team. We're going to give out some grades for the first third of the season that has been played here, the non-conference portion of the Longhorn schedule. We're going to give out some grades to some different portions of the team so far. Then we are going to talk about the SEC releasing the permanent rivals for the next 4 years, as the SEC is moving to a 9-game schedule starting next year in 2026. We'll find out the rest of the opponents for the next 4 years, in addition to those rivals, tomorrow night. We are recording this Monday, September 22nd. Those will be released Tuesday, September 23rd. We have another bonus episode of Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports planned for sometime later on in the week, where we can talk about the rest of the opponents, specifically for the Longhorns, after those are released. But we will get to the rivals and our thoughts on that. And then we're going to look ahead to what's going to be one of the most monstrous weeks in terms of the magnitudes of the games that are going to be played here in week 5. We're going to look ahead to 2 of those games in particular. We've got Alabama going on the road to Georgia, and we've got Oregon going on the road to Happy Valley at Penn State. We'll see how that goes. Make sure, as it says right here at the bottom of your screen, that you like and subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll likely forget that you even did it once you do it. About 80%, as far as I'm concerned, of people who listen to the show are not subscribed. So if you're listening to this right now, just look just below the video and make sure that you click that subscribe button. It will take you all but a nanosecond. Forgive me if I sound a little congested. I am battling through something. I don't know if it's allergies. I don't know if it's cold, but I wasn't going to miss Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports for that. So we are here. It is Monday, a victory Monday, where the Longhorns, I think, played much better. Emmy, how do you feel?
I'm feeling good, man. And like you said, I actually checked today, and it's actually about 90%, which is insane. Because we've been getting a lot of new traffic flowing through our channel. With us posting consistently, the algorithm's been treating us better. More people are seeing our stuff. So if you're new here, our like main goal here is to attract like the most sicko of sicko football fans imaginable. Like you will trap yourself in a basement in the middle of July and watch football film for 10 hours. Like that's the level of sicko that we're after. Okay, maybe not that quite that much, but that's kind of what we do here. We're football nerds. We talk like we get into the X's and O's, we get into the minutia of it. And as long as you're not afraid of getting a little nerdy, this is the place for you.
This is a college sports show, but we focus about 75% of it or more on the Texas Longhorns. You see orange at the bottom. You see orange and white everywhere. I'm usually wearing some kind of Texas shirt. Tonight I am not, unfortunately. Emmy sometimes does as well. I went to Texas. Emmy's a huge fan. We're both grew up in Austin for the most part, although he's from Dallas. So we're huge fans, and we're not going to tell you that we're completely unbiased. I think sometimes we can get into our emotions a little bit, especially me.
A little bit.
Just a little bit, some weeks, and we will be a little bit biased towards the Longhorns at some points. But if you're going to complain about it, I'd recommend you go watch last week's show. Probably the most negative show that we have done, I think, ever. Maybe. I think it's got an argument to be that.
Yeah,
So if
we
you ever
can
think
win
that
through
we're
stopping.
biased, in what we're saying, we're gonna call it like it is most of the time. If the Longhorns win, yeah, we're gonna talk our shit. But when they don't play well, we will go in on them a little bit, and we did
Yeah,
last week.
yeah.
Um, we're gonna get into these non-conference grades. There are 5 aspects of the team that I want to grade so far. We'll go back and forth on that. But before we get into our first topic here tonight, Emmy, I just want a couple sentences. Did we overreact to last week? It's question number 1. And number 2, how much better, if at all, do you feel after watching the game on Saturday?
Um, no, I don't think we overreacted. I think we, at a certain point in the conversation, it kind of steered towards, if this continues, will Sark bench Arch and all that. That probably was a step or two too far, because we know how Sark is. He's going to
Yep,
stick with the dude. He did that last year. Is the same thing. So that was probably like just a tad, but I don't think we overreacted. I mean, with the way they played against UTEP, it was pretty putrid. But to answer the second question, I do feel a bit better, but there's not a whole lot to learn
I agree.
against Houston State. I think it's more so about, one, the deep throw that Arch hit to Wingo.
Yep.
Some of the chemistry that seemed to be a little bit better with Wingo. Just completing a few passes down the field to Wingo was just like, it was like, you know, pulling out teeth in the first few weeks. Like, it just didn't happen. And just Arch hitting his back foot and just letting it rip. We saw that a bit more. He still had moments where he would hold the ball, but I mean, it was just overall a lot better. And if he plays at that level, Texas will be okay, because we have the defense to where he doesn't need to be perfect.
I agree. I agree with 100% of the words you just spoke. So with that, we can move on. Uh, we're not going to talk a lot about the Sam Houston game in a vacuum. Again, it was a really good performance all around from the Longhorns. It was nice to see, like I was texting Emmy during the game, it was nice to see an opening drive touchdown. It was nice to see two connections to Wingo on back-to-back drives for touchdowns. It was nice to see him get involved early, right? It was nice to see the defense and Colin Simmons get a sack early. Some of the things that we asked for last week, the Longhorns gave it to us. So I'm very happy for that. But there's not a lot that we can learn in the big picture from that Sam Houston State game. A lot of people are talking before we get into the. We'll get to that when we get to Arch. Let's save that conversation for when we get to Arch, because I want to talk about the taunting thing. A lot of people are talking about that online, obviously. Uh, we're gonna grade 5 aspects of this team. Okay, and who knows where this conversation is going to go. You can grade your grading skill is up to you. I think for sake of simplicity, we just use the A, B, C, D, F scale.
Yeah.
And you can add pluses and minuses if you so choose. Um, we're going to grade the head coach, the quarterback, the offensive line, the transfer portal haul, and the defense. And then we might add in the run game. I've thought about that. We'll see how much time we have. But let's start with the head honcho, the head coach. What grade would you give Steve Sarkisian through 4 weeks?
I give Steve Sarkisian a C for this year so far. I think, look back at that Ohio State game a little bit, and obviously, like, I don't think, um, like, obviously that's a really tough draw for a week 1 game going to the Horseshoe, and we were in that game till the end, despite putting up 7 points, which is a testament to how good the defense played. But some of the fourth down decision making, some of the fourth down play calling, I thought was a little bit questionable. The decision to, at the 1 yard line, just try to QB sneak it, like up the gut, like kind of not like kind of predictable from the formation that was called as well. Like Ohio State knew it was coming. They had two dudes in the A gaps like ready for it, and linebackers right behind it. Um, just that Ohio State game is what drops it a little bit, and then the Arch factor of it. Arch has been on campus for 2 years, and Steve Sarkisian has played a big role in his development, obviously. So I think he deserves a few dings just because Arch has clearly like spiraled mentally, and now he might be on the other side of it. We don't know yet, but um, in those first 3 weeks, I think the fact that he was able to spiral so far down to where he reached that low point against UTEP, like I think part of that has to be on Sark as well. Like you got to be able to kind of stabilize your guy somehow.
You can go C, you can go C plus, you can go B minus. It's somewhere in that range for me.
Yeah.
It's not that Sark has necessarily killed the team in any aspect, but the one thing that I've been wanting to see for the longest time, and you've been wanting to see it, the entire Texas fan base is in lockstep, is red zone play calling. It's just not been good enough. Last year, they were 100th in red zone efficiency, scoring percentage in the red zone, touchdowns, and field goals. And I think what will help this a little bit is the Longhorns have a kicker now in Mason Shipley, who just let that guy kick sometimes. Give your defense another 3 points to work with. Like this defense is so good, and we'll talk about it, that 3 points can matter a lot.
Yeah.
I like the aggressiveness when the situation calls for it, but the red zone has not progressed at all. And that's my main ding on Sark so far. And the reason you get dinged for it is not necessarily because you've got in the red zone twice against Ohio State and you failed to score both times, but it hasn't really looked all that great in the three what you would call cupcake games either. Right now, the Longhorns sit. Where do they sit? Ranked 92nd in red
Good.
zone scoring efficiency. That's percentage of touchdowns and field goals when you get into the red zone through 4 games. 3 of those games were San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston State. So it just hasn't been good enough yet. There's a lot of blame to go around there, but a lot of it is on Sarkisian. We've been waiting now for really 2 years, but a long time for this to get better, and it has not yet. And I think for Texas to have the season it wants to have, part of that number is going to have to improve a lot between now and December if they want to participate in the college football playoff. Now before this week, just to end that point, they were actually 130th in this statistic. They were near the bottom of Division One, FBS, in red zone scoring percentage. Obviously the Sam Houston State game helped that a little bit, but that's not good either way. So that for me is the thing that dings it for Sark. I think he's an A-plus recruiter. I still think really highly of him as a coach. I think he's A-plus at the podium most times. He's done a really good job handling this whole quarterback clown show in the media. But the red zone play calling, just the play calling overall, I think could be better. You talked about some of the week of that Ohio State game. After it happened, what did we say? We said we thought the game plan was, the word we used was vanilla. I just would have liked to see more. Only one opening drive touchdown so far in 4 games. I just expected more. And so that's my main ding on Sark. You can knock him for Arch. There are things that you can knock him for, but he's not killing the team, really. He's just not doing what we want him to do at the highest level. And so it's a passing grade, but it's a C plus for me.
Yeah, and I also ding him a little bit for missing out on some of the guys in the transfer portal, particularly for that wide receiver room. The kid that ended up at Auburn, cut like that one. In hindsight, that one really hurts. That dude's a dog. But I mean, it's the transfer portal. It's pretty hit or miss. Like it's really just luck of the draw. It's a 18, 19, 20-year-old making a decision to switch schools. So it's, you never know what can really happen. You can recruit all you want, but you know,
All
it
right.
is what it is.
Arch Manning, what grade would you give Arch through the first 4 games of the season?
Arch gets a D minus. Um, I I don't know, man. I think the fact that he came into the season so with his mechanics so out of whack, like that's on him most of all, over anything. Like I mentioned, Sark getting some of the dings for it, but like you being sharp with your mechanics and your footwork going into your first season as a starter, like that should have been like a full off season of just that. And the fact that he came in, everything was so out of whack that even the most casual of football fans could point out, like the ball is coming out of his arm weird. Like, oh, like his footwork looks a little bit wonky. What's up with that? Like it's it's a real thing. Like it was a real thing, and it looked better last night, which again proves that he can do it when he's really locked in on it. Um, which I think is probably even more frustrating for Texas fans, knowing that he could have been sharp coming into the year, but he just wasn't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's for a lack of practice. I think the guy works on his mechanics like nobody else.
Yeah,
He does the Manning Passing Academy. He works his ass off from everything that I hear.
yeah. All reports show that
Um,
he's a hard worker, definitely.
and it was really interesting because in one of, I think it was his Monday press conference after the UTEP game. I don't think we talked about this last week because I don't remember what day we recorded that episode. But anyways,
I think we did on Sunday.
one of the great questions from that press, yeah, one of the great questions from that press conference was somebody asked him, I think it was Travis Gailey, who asked him, "Is this is the same Arch Manning that's showing up in the games the same player that's showing up in practice?" And Sark said no. He thought about it a minute and then he said no. I thought that was really interesting. Everything that we heard through spring, through fall camp was good. It wasn't like we got any reports. The offense struggled some in fall camp. I think that plays a little bit of a role. Um, but I don't think it's for a lack of like preparation. I just think it's number one, this is a kid who started 2 games prior to this season, both against lesser competition, you'd have to say. He started the Mississippi State game last year and the UTSA game, I believe it was. Um, so doesn't have a whole lot of playing experience against high level competition, and he hadn't made his first road start. So I think there were some young quarterback struggles in that environment. It's hard to go win in the shoe. I mean, the only team that's really done it with any consistency is the Michigan Wolverines, as far as I can remember. I just think the game has gone a little bit too fast for him. He's coming off his read too fast. He's not really getting through his progressions super efficiently. And when you come off your first reads that fast, your mechanics can get out of whack because now you might be throwing the ball to read number two while your feet are still working towards, progression number one. And so that's some of the stuff that I've seen. Again, some of it could be, maybe film study plays a role in this. I don't know if I would go as far as to blame it on his preparation, but it is a problem. Like, that's just the bottom line. It's been a problem. It looked better in the Sam Houston State game, but it's been a problem regardless. And it's been a problem to the point where it's not just a problem here and there, right? It would be different if he misses a couple throws here and there, but it's been a problem to the point where the offense for 3/4 of the first part of this season has looked inept, like non-functional. It's been so bad to the point where the Texas offense can't function at all. Now, it was better on Saturday night, but for most of it, it's not that his mechanics are off or bad. It's that they're bad all the time, and it's leading to just unwatchable offense, or it has in
Yeah.
parts of these games. So I think he played well. He played well on Saturday. He had a stretch of football in the San Jose State game where he did play well. It was like a 7-minute burst of where they scored pretty much all their points. Um, and he did make a couple wow throws in that Ohio State game.
Yep.
You you give him a D minus, you give him a D. I'll give him a D plus. Like, it's been bad for most of it, but the good thing for Texas fans is we know that it's in there somewhere. We've seen
Yeah.
it. It's not like we haven't seen it at all. So I think a lot of Texas fans are in lockstep with probably a D plus, a C minus, whatever you want to give it. Um, that's where we find ourselves, and we're hoping that it gets better. I do think it will get better. It's, it's a question of how much better can it get. Okay. Anything else on Arch before we move on?
I do want to be clear that I still believe in Arch, and I still think that he's capable of leading this team to a national championship. It's just it's going to have to be a lot of like growth over the course of SEC play because even the version of Arch that played against Sam Houston State, I don't know if that version of Arch um, is quite good enough to win a national title. Just because you still see moments where he's missing guys or just not pulling the trigger or like it's nitpicky, but like there's still a ways to go, and I think he can get there.
Yeah, you think back to all the reports over the years, and a lot of Texas fans didn't believe it, but a lot of college football fans in general, even media people, didn't believe the reports that Arch is going to play 2 years at school. He's going to start 2 years at Texas. I wonder if there's a method to that madness after all.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the offensive line. What would be your grade? So we've started out kind of on a similarly negative note. What would be your grade for the offensive line so far this season?
I think it would be a lot easier if you could grade run blocking and pass blocking separately. Because the
Do it
pass
then.
blocking, for
Do
the
it.
most part, has been fantastic. For the most part, like there's been a few like here and there, but that can happen to any line. And I think for the most part, like if you were just to rate pass blocking, like this is one of the best pass blocking units in the country, possibly. So it's an A or A plus for pass blocking. But the run blocking, on the other hand, and it's been kind of, I think part of it has been Sark kind of experimenting with different running styles, like kind of switching between wide zone and power running game, like kind of trying to figure out the identity of what this offensive line is actually good at in terms of run blocking. But even still, I think it left some to be desired, but it wasn't horrible. So I'm gonna give I'm gonna give the offensive line a B plus, like a solid B plus.
I'm going to give it a B. I'm right in that range with you. I think the pass blocking has been the pass blocking, in all honesty, outside of Trevor Gooseby, has surpassed my expectations so far this season. Specifically, Connor Stroh, right, and Brandon Baker. Both of those guys have been really, really good in pass protection.
Baker's a beast.
Baker's been really good the past couple of weeks. The only thing that's really hurt him has been a couple penalties here and there. And I still think this team gets penalized too much, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But the tackles have been awesome in pass protection. Looks like Baker's going to be a really good player, so that's great. For whatever reason, I still need to see more out of DJ Campbell. Like he's a third-year starter. At this point, he should be a guy that's performing at like all SEC levels. He was hyped that way in the preseason, and it's not for a lack of talent. Like his best plays are some of the best plays that you will see from any guard in college football. But he still has these lapses. I don't know where they come from, where he can get beat. He's not he gets called for a hold, or he'll have a penalty, or he'll do something dumb. I still want to see more consistency out of DJ Campbell, because his best, that's like a day 2 draft pick, but he still has the bad mixed in. I think overall, though, this offensive line, outside of moments in the run game, which you talked about, has surpassed my expectations overall. With 4 new starters, although a couple of those guys already have a lot of playing experience, it's still 4 new starters. And overall, like, they didn't lose the game against Ohio State. And that was the thing that I thought, if Texas lost that game, that would have been one of the things that going into that game I would have said would hurt Texas, but it didn't really. Outside of a couple penalties. And overall, like in pass protection, they've been good. They've given Arch plenty of time to throw. Run blocking has been spotty here and there. They weren't good enough in the red zone. Like where you would penalize them, I think, in that Ohio State game is maybe they could have been a little bit more physical down on the goal line. But other than that, like they've been solid. There's nothing. It hasn't been a disaster. So overall, you can go B plus, you can go B. I think we're right in the correct range for the offensive line. Trevor Gooseby, though, first round pick. Like he's all that was advertised.
Yeah.
In the preseason. And he's playing with a hand injury. So keep that in mind. Okay, this is a little bit of a weird one that I came up with, but transfer portal haul. Now, you can take a lot of things into consideration for this grade. The first thing you need to take into consideration is how the transfers that they did get are performing so far. So those are guys like Brad Spence. Those are guys like the specialists that they brought in the portal.
Yep.
All the defensive tackles that they brought in through the portal. Your Murad Watsons, your Cole Brevards, your Travis Shaws of the world. But you can also take into account what they potentially didn't get in the portal for this grade. So I'm interested to hear your approach for this. What would you give the transfer portal haul for Texas so far?
Yeah, this was a very um, position group focused haul. I feel they weren't really down to the portal and being like, let's just go get the best player. We haven't seen much of Mosley yet. I expect to see some of him soon, and which will be nice. And then the defensive tackle class, or just defensive line class, I guess front seven class from this transfer portal haul has been overall really, really good. Um, Brad Spence had a sack last week. Um, Cole Brevard, Murad Watson, Hero Canoe have been, I
Yep.
mean, they've exceeded expectations. They've been fantastic. Travis Shaw has had his moments.
Yep.
Um, it, I think if you're just looking at that defensive tackle class, and if you're just looking at what we got and you're removing the what we could have got out of it, then you have to feel pretty good because we still haven't seen Emmett Mosley yet, and we expect him to make an impact whenever he gets back onto the field. So um, I give this class like a solid B from that standpoint. But if you take into account what we could have targeted, which was probably an offensive lineman or maybe one more pass catcher, then yeah, I think that would probably drop it to like a B minus for me.
Fair. For me, part of what they got is incomplete because we have not seen Emmett Mosley yet. So I don't want to really ding Texas for a player that's hurt in that aspect, but we just haven't seen that player yet. So you can factor that into the grade as a negative if you want. Not saying you did, but when you guys are thinking about this, you can do that. I'm not going to ding that as a negative. It's just something that I think could only add to what there is currently. But both specialists that they brought in, the punter and the kicker, A plus. Punting game has been much better. In the field goal kicking game, like Mason Shipley hasn't missed a kick yet. He's made 14 straight field goals dating back to last year. He's an upgrade over Bird Auburn. I haven't watched much of Bird Auburn so far at Miami. How's he doing? I haven't seen.
I think
We'll
he
see.
lost that job. Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't think he won that job as
That
starter.
that's interesting. Well, regardless, the point is specialists massively upgraded. Defensive line, I think they hit on most of those guys. Murad Watson's been one of the best defensive tackles just flat out in the SEC so far, based on production. Same thing with Hero Canoe. Same thing with Cole Brevard. Cole Brevard's been one of the best run defenders in the country. On the interior, he's massive, super hard to move. Um, Travis Shaw, you see the flashes; they are in there. So, defensive line overall, they've replaced a lot of what's there really well. I think probably better than most people expected them to have done so. Kenny Baker, I think, is just a really good. He's turned out to be, for all the questions about his experience when he was hired a couple years ago, when Bo Davis left for LSU, the guy can develop. The guy can spot talent so far, at least. And so, and you add on to the fact, like, we're seeing some of these younger defensive linemen show up as well. I know it was against lesser competition, but like Lance Jackson had a sack on Saturday night. Um, we've seen Justice Terry get in a little bit. We've seen some of the younger guys, even Josiah Sharma was in that game on Saturday night. So I think the transfers mainly, I'd give them on the interior defensive line for the job that they're doing so far for this defense, like a A. I think it's an A. I think those two parts are an A. I think Jack Injuries needs to be utilized more. Like we didn't see him at all in the offense for whatever reason on Saturday. I don't think he had a catch, maybe not even a target, which is kind of weird. But like when he has been targeted, he's been good. I don't know that he's been like Gunnar Helm levels of good, but he's been good. He's been like a solid B player. I mean, he's good to have. Made a couple of good catches against Ohio State. He had 2 touchdowns in that San Jose State game a couple of weeks ago. He's been solid. So that's like a B. But when you think about what Texas could have done elsewhere in the portal, I think another veteran offensive lineman would have been nice, certainly, for just either depth or like a swing interior player would have been really good. They didn't end up doing that for whatever reason. It just hasn't been part of Kyle Flood's philosophy to this point. Another receiver absolutely would have been nice, and that's even with Emmett Mosley, who had a very nice freshman year at Stanford, but I would have liked – it didn't even have to be Eric Singleton. That guy was going to cost a lot of money. But, like, could they have gone after the Casey Concepcion kid from A&M? Like, that would have been nice. Something like that. I would have liked to see a little more there. And then some people are going to hate me for this, but I wanted a running back in the portal. And that didn't happen. I thought it might. I thought they might be able to get the West Virginia kid when Chad Scott came over as running backs coach, but that didn't happen. So there are some pieces on this offense that are missing. And so for that reason, I think you drop it from like an A- to like a B minus. So I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah. I think I think the tone that we're using is a lot more negative than it actually is, which just shows how high the expectations are.
Yeah. Okay. Last one, the defense. What grade do you give the defense?
A+. I think it's been about as good as you could hope. I mean, where do I even start? I think. All right. It's easy to start with negative, so I'll just do that. I think if you're gonna gripe on anything, I think getting the quarterback to the turf is one. Like we've seen a lot of missed tackles in the backfield, like missed opportunities for sacks, which has been very tough to see at certain points. The secondary has been great, but I think obviously against some of the better wide receiver competition, it'll be interesting to see whether they stick with a lot of the man coverage that they've been playing or whether they go to a little bit more zone. I think we talked last week about, I think it was an anonymous coach from the UTEP staff that said something about Texas probably having to play more zone in SEC play. That'll be interesting to monitor. But right now, it's as about as good as you hope. I mean, you shut out a team last week, albeit not a good team, but you shut them out and it made a hell of a lot of plays in the process too.
The defense is mostly dominant. And for that reason, you can give them an A or an A+. I give them a solid A right now. And it's not a knock against the defense. Like, in most games this year, the way that they're performing, I think 24 points for Texas wins most of these games.
Yeah.
Now, there are 3 games right now that I'm zeroed in on. And you probably know what they are based on what we've seen this year. They're all top 10 teams as of right now, as they should be. Georgia, Texas A&M, after what they did on offense against Notre Dame, as we're talking about the defense right now, they brought in all those wide receivers. Marcel Reed looks like he's taking another step. In Oklahoma with John Mateer. Like, those are the 3 games. Those are the 3 pivot games right now, I think, for Texas. It's how can this defense, like, how many points are those offenses going to score against this defense? I think in most games this year, 24 points gets it done. Maybe even 20 sometimes with the way this defense is performing. I mean, hell, 17 points would have beaten Ohio State.
5 field goals, 15 points.
The number 1 team in America. And they've got the best offensive player in college football in Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, who's probably like a top 15 receiver in college football. So Texas is not going to, I don't think any offense is going to really expose this Texas defense. They've been really good this year. And I think the thing that should excite Texas fans is I think there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
You mentioned, excuse me, sometimes they're missing opportunities for sacks, and I agree with you there. But like their stars haven't really done much yet. I think Michael Taff has been really good. Like he's playing his role as good as you can play it. He's just an awesome player, awesome story. But like potentially the two best players on this team, Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons. Let me give you a couple statistics really quickly. Anthony Hill is on pace for 48 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 0 sacks over 12 games. He hasn't done shit yet. He had 2 forced fumbles in the San Jose State game, but other than that, hasn't done a whole lot. Now, part of that is the way that he's being used. I think they're going to unleash him a little bit more here in conference play. But like he can still do a whole lot more. It's not that he's been bad. It's just he hasn't done a whole lot. Like he's not making as many plays as you would have thought he maybe could have made coming into this season. And then Colin Simmons, like the guy got a sack on Saturday, and that's great. But right now, he's not really having the kind of season that we thought he was going to have. He's on pace for 4.5 sacks so far. I think that's going to change. I think there's a lot of regression, positive regression that's going to happen here. It's not a negative thing. Like these players have still been good, but I think they can still be better. I don't think those two players in particular are necessarily meeting their expectations. And if they start meeting their expectations, along with everything else that this defense already has going for it, then you're looking at one of the best defenses in America, as it already is. But you're looking at a hell of a defense, like maybe one of the best in school history. So, yeah, it's when your offense is going through it, it's good to have a defense that maybe allows you to, if you can score 3 touchdowns and maybe a couple field goals, you probably win most of these games. Not saying you automatically beat Georgia, Oklahoma, or Texas A&M by doing that, but I think most of the other games on this schedule, when you look at Florida's offense, that's another story for another day. The Kentuckys, the Mississippi States of the world, although Mississippi State isn't wretched like last year.
Yeah.
But I think most of the other games you can win scoring in the 20s with how good this defense has been. It's just those 3 games is where we're going to learn a whole lot more. Like I don't think we're going to learn. We'll learn some stuff in Gainesville, but I honestly don't know if that Florida team's any good. I think they've got a really good roster, and they've got the potential to be good. I think their defense is really good, just gets left out to dry most of the time with how bad their offense is.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad matchup for that Florida offense, this Texas defense. So, I mean, in that game, I think if Arch can go in there and just play smart and Texas can put up 27 points, I think that wins that game. The way Florida's offense has been playing.
Yeah, maybe even by more than a touchdown.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Florida can come up with some wrinkles in the bye week. They're 1-3. They have 2 weeks to prepare for Texas, but Texas has 2 weeks to prepare for them. So it kind of goes both ways. But yeah, the defense overall, it's an AA plus, but it has room to get to like an A plus 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 plus.
Yeah,
if you know what I'm saying. So
definitely.
all right. Anything else with regards to this conversation before we get to the last couple topics?
Shout out to Jelani McDonald and Grayson Littleton for being defensive MVP so far this year.
Jelani McDonald has been freaking tastic. Interceptions in 2 straight games. might be the best. He's been the best playmaking player on this defense so far this year. That's great to see. And the combination of him, Manny Muhammad, and Jalen Gilbo, along with Michael Taft, has been everything that you could have hoped it would be, along with Grayson Littleton. That's just like a cherry on top.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about like how much talent is sitting behind those players. Like Kobe Black and Warren Roberson didn't even play on Saturday. And they were just fine. And look, Sam Houston, wretched team, but you still got to play football.
Yeah.
So there's that. I actually have a couple other shout outs I want to give before we get to the permanent rivals conversation. We might not have time for the preview. We might have to save that for our bonus episode this week.
Yeah, that's all right.
Just because I don't want this to go too much over an hour. I like to keep it to like hour 10, hour 15 at most.
Yeah.
Shout out Jonte Cook. Not a Texas player anymore, but I mean, I don't know if you've watched any Syracuse this year, but Jonte Cook on Saturday against Clemson caught 6 passes for 113 yards, and he looked like the best receiver on the field on both sides. That's including Syracuse and Clemson. And even though that Clemson season's kind of going down the drain, I think they've got one of the best receiver corps talent-wise in America.
Yeah.
And so, like, shout out Jonte Cook for finding a spot that seems to work for him. Now, the sad part is Steve Angeli, their starting quarterback, Achilles popped on Saturday as they were dismantling Clemson. And so hopefully they have a good backup. But Jonte Cook's been really productive. It looks like he's found himself, and I like to see that. He's on pace to catch 54 passes for over 700 yards this year. Only 3 touchdowns, but I think he had 1 or 2 touchdowns in the one of their games that they've played so far this season.
Yeah, maybe the opener.
Yeah, I think it was the opener. He had a touchdown, so he's been good. Shout out to former Texas receiver Jonte Cook, who's had his fair share of snafus off the field, but it looks like he's found himself a good spot with Syracuse, a pretty good ACC team this year. So we'll see how the quarterback injury affects that. But yeah, he's been good. And then there are a couple other like Texas transfers that are playing pretty well elsewhere, including like, I don't know, you look at what Jere Bledsoe's been doing at Mississippi State. He's gotten himself off to a pretty good start. Justice Finkley at Kansas has been pretty good. He's got a tackle for loss and two quarterback hits, along with 12 tackles. So there are some Texas transfers that are playing pretty well. There are obviously some Texas players in the NFL, obviously performing pretty well. But yeah, let's get into we'll do the permanent rivals, which were just announced this morning. We'll have that conversation, and we'll probably save the previews for later this week. So, Emmy, you can start us off. First, it's what we expected, right? With Texas, it's Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M. But other than that, you can give your thoughts on that if you want. But other than that, what stood out to you about this release from the SEC today?
I'm going to dwell on that too much. The Bama one, I pulled it up. I have it listed here. I pulled it up on Sports Illustrated website, and theirs is very interesting. They have Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. So no LSU. And keep in mind that their rationale for making these was they wanted to keep things equitable, I guess, and kind of have things kind of even out in terms of like historically how good these teams have been in recent years. So from that standpoint, I feel like they achieved that as good as they could have hoped. but at the same time, it is a little bit disappointing to not see LSU on that list for Bama, just because that's been a big rivalry in college football over the past, 15, 20 years. I mean, my entire life, that game has been a huge game of college football, like no matter if like either team is good or not. Like that's just a huge game every year in general.
Yep. Is there a team when you look at the list here that got screwed over? Like, is there a team that got the hose here when you look at the 3 permanent opponents? I have one in mind, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. Is there a team you look at their 3 permanent rivals and you go, whoa, that's rough?
Well, Auburn.
Yep,
Auburn
that's the one I
possibly,
was going to
depending on.
say.
I mean, I don't think Vanderbilt's gonna just fall off back to how they were before. I think Vanderbilt's gonna be a competitive program for years to come, and then you have Georgia and Alabama as your other 2 teams. So that one comes to mind for me for sure. Because I mean, say what you want about Bama, but they're gonna be perennially a ranked team. Like maybe not competing for championships perennially anymore, but they're always going to be ranked. They're always going to have the talent. So that's probably the one for me. Probably missing something though.
No, that was you took it right out of my mouth. You took the words right out of my mouth. Auburn got kind of screwed there. You got to play Bama and Georgia every year. I don't care like how down Alabama might be in comparison to what they have been. They're still one of the most talented rosters in the entire country. In Georgia, the mean red and black coming down the track to just destroy your quarterback whose name is Jack. I mean that's not great. And then Vanderbilt, like they're starting to get traction. I don't know what heights they can reach. And obviously they're going to have to eventually find another quarterback not named Diego Pavia, who's just an absolute dog. But like they actually look like they have a real SEC line of scrimmage this year, which is the scary part in a way. They went to
South
the
Carolina
cockpit.
whooped up.
They went to the cockpit and whooped some really good NFL caliber athletes on the line of scrimmage a couple weeks ago. So yeah, that's not great for Auburn. One weird thing I would have liked to see, I don't know if you call it a rivalry, but it feels like every time these teams get together, it's pretty heated and it's always a great game. I understand it. Like I understand the opponents they gave Tennessee and Georgia. Like for Georgia, you have Auburn, Florida. The Georgia-Florida game's always it's supposed to be a great game. Lately, it really hasn't been because one side of the bargain's not holding up there. But like I understand those two for sure. Instead of South Carolina, I would have liked Georgia and Tennessee to meet every year. It's just something about it feels when those two teams get together, it's always a fantastic game. Maybe it's the selfish fan part of me that wants that. I don't know if it's a rivalry. But I do know that there's some animosity between those two fan bases. And to give Tennessee some more chances to kind of get over that hump here that they can't seem to get over. They've gotten over the Alabama hump. I think they've beaten them the last 2 times that Alabama's gone into Neyland. But Georgia's the team that they can't seem to get over the top of. So I would have liked to see that. I understand it from a Tennessee perspective. Like Tennessee Bama, for the most part, is always a great game. And then you play, Kentucky. I think instead of Kentucky, I would have liked to see Georgia. I understand the Vanderbilt thing. That's an in-state thing that they have to do. But yeah, that's one that I would have liked to see. You mentioned the Alabama LSU. That's another one. In terms of, let me ask you this, and then we can kind of wrap things up. We knew Texas was going to be A&M, OU, and Arkansas. When you look at Texas's rivals, A&M and who they got, Oklahoma and who they got, and Arkansas and who they got, which of those three schools do you think got the toughest draw out of those three? So Arkansas got Missouri, Texas, and LSU. Oklahoma got Missouri, Ole Miss, and Texas. And then A&M got LSU, Missouri, and Texas. Do you have a lean or any thoughts there on what the rivals are looking at?
I think I
Interestingly
would
enough, all of them play Missouri.
Yeah, that is interesting. I guess A&M slightly.
Yeah.
We don't know how
It's the
consistent
LSU.
LSU's program is going to end up being, but I mean, I
Yeah.
think I feel pretty good about them generally. And then Missouri, they're perennially like around 7-8 wins. So
Yeah. Regardless of how good either team is in a given year, feels like in most sports, particularly football and baseball, that A&M LSU game, whether it happens on the diamond or on the gridiron, delivers every single time.
yeah.
So I love that they gave A&M LSU. Part of me would actually eventually like to see Texas play LSU. It feels like it should be a rivalry, and it's not for whatever reason. But I understand it. Like Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M are the three that we expected. Anything else that stood out to you? I think once we get like the full list of opponents for Texas in particular over the next 4 years, it will be a lot more interesting of a conversation. But any other thoughts?
Yeah, this is a starting point. I mean, I think you mentioned the Tennessee conversation. I think the Tennessee one is tough just because they're rivals with everybody. It feels like they're just like one of those historic SEC programs. Like Tennessee and Ole Miss have history, obviously with the Manning stuff. Tennessee and Bama, of course. Tennessee and Florida. They're
Tennessee
just
has a bit of
rivals with
history
everybody.
with everybody.
Yeah,
Tennessee has a history with everybody. And hopefully, like in the next 2 years, we get to see the battle of the UTs begin with Texas and Tennessee.
right.
I think that's something we'll probably see on Texas's schedule next year. I think we're going to see. Okay, let's do this. There's 6 spots left. We know who Texas has been playing the past 2 years: Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Georgia. A&M, OU. Those will all stay the same. But like, who do you think? Make a prediction. Who do you think are going to be the teams that we find out tomorrow? There are going to be 6 of them. Who are those going to be? I'll start with LSU and Tennessee. I think those 2 are locks. But who else do you think we're going to see on the schedule? You think we're going to see like an Ole Miss maybe? You think we're going to see maybe an Auburn? You have any bold predictions for what the schedule looks like? Or who you want to come to Austin? Who do you want to come to Austin the next couple of years?
Ooh, I would love to see maybe LSU coming to Austin would be pretty damn cool. A little rematch of that Joe Burrow year. I think I have a feeling Georgia will be on the schedule again, just because that's a cash cow game. I think we'll probably definitely Tennessee, probably Missouri.
You're gonna get
Probably
Missouri.
Auburn, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably those are the teams I would think of. I don't know about South Carolina. We'll see on that one.
Yeah. South Carolina is a little bit weird. I wonder who are the home games next year. I feel like we're going to get a big dog in Austin next year. We're already getting a big dog coming to Austin. I think that game, the rematch of Texas Ohio State, isn't in week 1 next year. It's in like week 2 or 3. But Ohio State's coming to Austin, so that already boosts the home schedule.
Yeah.
This year's home schedule is kind of trash. I don't want to say that too loudly, but
No,
like I
that
don't want to.
we even were saying that before the season, or not we, but Texas fans in general.
I don't want to bash it too much because it looks like the Vanderbilt and A&M games could be pretty big because Vanderbilt's pretty good and A&M looks like a potential playoff team. But like other than that, it's not very good. So I'd like to see a couple big dogs come to Austin. I want to see the Tennessee game for sure. I want to see LSU. I think one of Bama or Georgia will be on there. I wonder if they renew the Texas Alabama thing or if they just stick with Georgia altogether. Who else? I'd love to see Texas go on the road to Auburn. That just feels like a tough place to play and feels like it would be a pretty cool place for Texas to play in.
For sure.
Who are we forgetting? I feel like they'll probably play Missouri, but I don't know that for sure.
I mean, we already played Mississippi State. I don't know who we're forgetting.
The curious one is South Carolina. Will they put South Carolina on the schedule? That's the curious one there. But yeah, we'll get more into that potentially at a later date. But we're right at an hour, so let's in parting shot. Let's do parting shots with outside of Texas, not Texas. It can't be anything Texas related. One good thing you saw in college football this week and one awful thing you saw in college football this week. What would those be? For a parting shot?
Good thing I saw a lot of close games in that night window, particular. Jordan Tyson. I don't know if you saw that Arizona State Baylor game, but Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver for Arizona State, keep an eye on that kid. I texted you after that game this year. If he declares, of course, but I don't really see a reason why he wouldn't. And then of course, Texas Tech has arrived. I think they're gonna.
Yep.
With the NIL bat they're swinging now, I think they're gonna position themselves to be a powerhouse in the Big 12, which is kind of what that conference needs, if we're being real.
Yep.
What else?
They physically beat up Utah, and Utah, regardless of what you think of them,
that's their
regardless of what you think of them, they don't get physically beaten like that at all, ever.
Not at home, definitely not.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Anything else? Ooh. I have a couple. Anything else on your end?
I'm probably forgetting a couple things, but go ahead. Give me yours.
Yeah. So let's start with the bad, because we just love to be negative here on this show. I'm just kidding. I mentioned it earlier, but it has to be said because this is just, it's gotten to a point where it looks like the plug on Billy Napier is going to be pulled at some point. It has to be if this continues. And that job will be a massive job opening if it opens, whenever it does. But Florida's offense is rotten garbage. It is bad. How bad it is.
Yeah.
Florida has 2 weeks to get ready for Texas. Longhorns have 2 weeks to get ready for them. Okay? It's possible that Florida could come up with some stuff, revamp itself in a way that is similar to what Texas did this weekend against Sam Houston, and they could put on a better showing, much better showing, and give Texas a real fight, right, in Gainesville here in a couple weeks. That's possible. But based on what we've seen, how likely is that? I wish I could do like a paper pop like Josh Pate, but I don't have any paper around. So I'm just going to read this. Per ESPN.com, the Gators had 141 total yards of offense against Miami, their fewest in a game since 1999. That's 26 years ago. And they went 0 for 13 on third down, their worst showing since 1998 versus Florida State. Lagway, DJ, their quarterback, you don't even get to say, like, he doesn't even get to get his name said the right way. He's been so bad that I'm just going to call him Trashway.
DJ
DJ Trashway. DJ Trashway, a week after throwing 5 interceptions in a loss at LSU, went 12 for 23 for 61 yards total passing. But that's not the worst part. 61 yards is awful over 4 quarters, but that's not the worst part. According to ESPN, he totaled -3 air yards on his 12 completions. How do you do that? How do you total -3 air yards? Like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. 7 of his passes were caught behind the line of scrimmage. I don't even know. I don't even know how that happens. Right now, you can make an argument that 17 points wins that game in Gainesville in a couple of weeks, unless we see a completely different Florida team shows up. It can happen, but I don't know how likely it is right now with that Florida team. And then the officiating in the Oklahoma Auburn game.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
That was bad.
Yeah.
And not just on one, it was bad on both sides. I'm not one of these people who's going to say, like, well, if Auburn got this call and this call, they definitely would have won. I don't do that kind of thing. But if there was one game where you could make that argument, it might have been that game because that was bad all around.
Yeah.
But, like, to the people making that argument, I understand where you're coming from. Like, some people that make that argument, like, if the refs called this flag and this flag, or they didn't call this flag and this flag, my team would have won. I actually don't understand that in most cases, in most games. In that game, I kind of do to a certain extent. But, like, if you're an Auburn fan, I know it's rough. I know it sucks to lose by one possession and have all those missed calls. But, like, let's be honest. You allowed Oklahoma to sack your quarterback 10 motherfucking times. 10 sacks. How do you give up 10 sacks in a game? I have no idea. So, Auburn's offensive line and officiating, dog water. I just spit on my computer screen, but whatever. And then good. The Missouri team overall, but specifically their run game. This is a paper popper, although I don't have paper to pop. They beat South Carolina. So South Carolina's lost 2 in a row. They're kind of reeling. I feel bad for the state of South Carolina, man. Like, what the fuck's going on? I mean, South Carolina is reeling. They've lost 2 in a row. Clemson's a dumpster fire right now. Like, pray for the people of South Carolina. I don't. The college football in that state isn't what I expected it to be.
I mean, they're in North Carolina, but you got the Panthers also representing the Carolinas, which they got to win.
Even they won 30-0 yesterday.
Yeah,
and they could have won the game before that.
Yeah,
they came back against the who was
Cardinals.
it that lost my bet last week? Those fuckers. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I don't know how South Carolina was competitive in the game. Like, I think I didn't really watch much of the game, but what I do know is rushing yards. Missouri, 285. South Carolina, -9 in the story. That's a padlock.
I'll answer that question with how South Carolina was competitive in the game. Field goal kicking. Missouri's kicker couldn't make shit. He missed an extra
285.
point. He missed multiple field goals, and then he hit the one near the end of the game to put them up 9. But that's the only one he hit.
It's important to have a field goal kicker.
Yeah.
But 285 to -9 on the ground. Wow. Good for Missouri, not good for South Carolina.
Yeah. Dude.
That's it. That's all I had really. Another thing is like, did you see what happened? We'll get into this more in our NFL episode maybe, but what the hell happened in the NFL yesterday? How many blocked field goals were there?
I don't fucking know. It's hard to make sense of all of it. Like all of the non-offensive touchdowns, just like what?
Yeah, that was crazy. Especially the Rams one, the
Yeah.
Eagles one.
2 of them? Like wow. Like no.
And then you had the Jets one. You had the Packers one. Yeah. Well, we have another NFL episode coming, and then we have another bonus episode that'll be out this week. But that's going to do it for this episode of Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Those of you who are tuning in, we know people are tuning in. We just want those people to subscribe if possible. So make sure that you do what it says now at the bottom of your screen. Both like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It's just a click of a button, and you'll probably forget about it 2 hours later. But it just helps us. So we greatly appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. And we have a bunch more content coming. It's a great week of sports. Like, it's kind of a good week for Texas not to play because there are, first of all, the Ryder Cup is this week. That's big.
Yeah.
The college football slate this weekend on Saturday is off the charts with the 2 games that I mentioned, but there are more. I'm forgetting something. There's the NFL is always good. Like there's a lot going on. What am I forgetting? There's something else going on that I'm not mentally. Oh, it's the last weekend of the MLB regular season.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then playoffs are starting. And then like sooner rather than later, we'll have the basketball starting up too. If you're one of those fans who interested in hearing about recruiting and some thoughts on what's going on with Sean Miller in the Texas basketball program, we'll do that sometime later this week on a bonus episode. But for Michael Wein, he's Emmy Nixon. We'll be back later this week. Hook 'em horns and peace out.
Peace.